Welcome back to the Chris Carter Radio Show. The legends continue. What a show we've got tonight. We've had Giacomo Agostini, we've had Randy Momola, we've had Pierre's Cars Makers. Now can we have a big welcome, please, for Eddie Lawson, Wayne Rainey, and their bodyguard, Randy Momola.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk to you two first and bring Randy in, so grab the microphones if you've been kind enough. We spoke to you 2 or 3 years ago when you were last here, but you're regulars in this Yamaha package of bringing superstars here. What do you like about coming with this Yamaha group? What's the most pleasurable part of being here? The food? The sunshine? Meeting wonderful people like me? Signing autographs? Watching the racing? What's the best bit? I do.
Well, I think there's a lot, Chris. I think first is the memories. There's a lot of memories. I think I drove here for the first time in 1978. The speed limit was 55, but we made it in under 48 hours from California.
You broke the speed limit.
And I was only 16 then, so I'd have to say those years probably hold the best memories for me.
And the most speeding tickets, I suspect.
No, we didn't get no speeding tickets, but it was a lot of fun, that's for sure. And what goes on now is that Yamaha, they get us here, and I get to see a lot of the guys that I've never competed against, but I followed their careers, like Bob and Pierre, and Mike Bell, and Brock and those guys. So
well, let me just ask you, because I asked Pierre Cosmaker whether he ever wanted to have been a road racer. Now you did dirt and you did road racing. Did you ever dream of being a motocross rider? Did that ever take your fancy?
I had about as much interest in being a motocross rider as I was going to be a heavyweight fighter.
Oh, as much as that. What are the memories of you racing here? What are the highlights of you racing here at Daytona?
Surprisingly, it's always the bad memories that have my...
Tell us the bad memories then. We can stop for
one time Yamaha invited me to ride their superbike, but they told me that the factory didn't build it, but would I still come and test it for them? I said, all right. So I went one lap, and back at that time, I think it was 1985, and the oil line was not braided steel, it was rubber, and it melted against the exhaust pipe the first lap out. And I high-sided and broke my collarbone. So I remember that real well. And then one time on a Kawasaki, going into turn 1, the rear fender was zip-tied onto the chassis. So you go off on a GPZ 750, he's probably on about 120 at the end of the straight, but the rear fender broke and got wedged in between the back tire and the swing arm. So it just locked up going into turn 1. And I had the clutch in thinking, well, it's broke. But it never did free up, and so I remember those, and I think we won maybe one or two of them, but
it's the bad memories.
Yeah.
What do you do with your time now? You've stopped racing. Obviously, the accident to someone like me means you're perhaps limited in what you can do, but you're now going to tell me no, you're not limited. You do exactly what you want to do. I know you went kart racing, didn't you?
Well, after the accident, for sure, I didn't know what I could do, and as the days and months and years tick by, I figured out that I can do anything I want. I just had to attempt it, and I just do it a little bit different than I did before my accident, but it hasn't really been a hindrance. I mean, I can think about the way it used to be, and sure, that'd bring you down, but I think everybody here, if we look back, we've all we've had tough times, and you look in the future and you're going to have tough times. So I just try to do the best I can each day.
Well, what do you do though? How do you pass the time? What?
I sit around a lot, Chris.
Do you?
Yeah.
do you do business?
Yeah, well.
Are you making millions?
Well, I'm trying to talk Bob Starr into sponsoring a kart race for me and Ed. So I hope to make millions. No, I have a 9-year-old boy, Rex. He's in baseball, he's in basketball, and he's in, what else? He's in Cub Scouts. And anybody here that has children know that that's a full-time job. And I've just got one child, so I don't know how they do it with more than one child. But then, I exercise, I swim, and ride my bicycle every day. And
you just have a good time, really, don't you? I mean, the rest of us have to go out and work, for goodness sake, Rainey. What's the matter with you?
Well, I have a good time until I have to go kart racing with Eddie, and I find out all the parts, good stuff's on his cart.
He's always been sneaky. You know that, we know that.
The only time I get good parts is when I steal them off his cart.
That I believe. Do you miss the Grand Prix team? You ran a Grand Prix team and then you stopped being a team manager. Now, why on earth would anyone want to stop being a team manager in Grand Prix racing, Wayne Rainey?
Why on earth would you want to do it? It's, being a racer, and then, my situation was special because of the accident and stuff, and I had a chance to run the team, and I think it was 4 or 5 years I did that, but, I realized after about 3 years that this isn't really what I want to be doing, but I was so locked into it, and I had, commitments from sponsors and Yamaha and stuff that I really couldn't back out of it, but I knew about 3 years into it, this wasn't where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in California. I wanted to be home. It was much more easier for me to stay home. The, traveling 200,000 miles a year in the air was really difficult for me physically. But, and my riders were just so damn bad, it was hard to watch.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a commercial break. So join us in a couple of minutes' time here at the Ramada Speedway. These words from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Chris Carter Radio Show. We're at the boardroom at the Ramada Speedway, the last night of the show, and we've had some super people on the show already. We've got some superstars on the show now. Wayne Rainey, Eddie Lawson, and we've got Randy Mamola back up here again. You perhaps heard me slagging off the present day bunch of riders and in the 500 world. Oh, you didn't. I've been asking Randy whether he thought like me that generally, with the exception perhaps of Michael Doohan, most of them over the last 5 or 6 years have been pretty useless compared with you people and Schwantz and Kenny Senior and Barry Sheen and Freddie Spencer and Wayne Gardner. You've been rude about your 250 riders, so presumably you're going to be honest about the 500 guys. How good do you rate them?
Well, that's been asked quite a lot, and just when I had the team, I was seriously calling Eddie about every 3 months saying, Ed, you can run with these guys. I know you haven't done it in 7 years, I don't care, it's all right. You can get me on the podium, but he says, if you had $10 million, I wouldn't race for you, Wayne.
Was that for you or just racing in general?
Well, I'd never asked that part. But I don't know, I think, hey, we were in a special era where, there was a lot of riders that were real close, and we didn't know who was going to win each race. And that was a long time ago. I think now the technology of the tires and the bikes are so good, and I still think any one of us could run with the best guys out there, but the present guys that are out there, I think Rossi for sure stands out.
But he's different, isn't he?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I only know what he does on the racetrack because I only watch it on TV. I don't.
But okay, let's start naming names. Kenny Jr., Sete Giba now, Carlos Checker. They're just average guys. I wouldn't pay a penny to go and watch them race, whereas I would have paid to watch you. When you and Kevin, for instance, were
banging... to go watch us race karts, Chris?
I don't know, probably a lot. But when you and Kevin were riding in the transatlantic match races, for instance, anybody would have paid good. But these people were bashing fairings and kicking each other, and they're riding for the same team.
Yeah. I'm still upset about some of that.
I bet you are, but it's great.